Contact Mark Capincioni from Centum Mortgage Approval Center. His brokerage deals with 15 mortgage lenders, including major banks, credit unions, and exclusive lending institutions. Mark works with the borrowers to find them the best rate and most suitable mortgage product. Let Mark work for you. To learn more, call Mark for your free consultation at 705-254-9678.
Good day, everyone. We're here for the sports talk with Sault Ste. Marie's own Marty Turco and former NHL goaltender. How are you today, Marty?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing?
Good, good. And also my co-host, Tony Bonifero and Jim Monaco. How's everybody?
We're good. Big Michigan game tonight, so.
Yeah. It's a big week. We get to the, if we win tonight, get to the Elite Eight, and Michigan hockey plays this weekend, NCAA tournament. So be fun week to watch for my alma mater.
Looking forward to it. So Marty, huge honor to have you on the show. We really appreciate this. One thing I wanted to talk to you about was, we do a lot of we cover a lot of Sioux Thunderbirds and Junior A hockey here in the Sioux. And one thing that I always wonder about is I don't think it's fair that kids have to make such a tough decision about where to go play hockey at such a young age. You obviously took the NCAA route, and obviously that worked out extremely well for you. Can you just talk a little bit about kind of what led to your decision to take the NCAA route over the CHL route?
Yeah, for sure. It's worth noting I was not 5 feet going to high school, and when I was 16 years old, the quads weren't too big, and I still was probably sub 5'9". So I wasn't a blue chip recruit, and certainly wasn't on a lot of radars. I was playing AAA in the Sioux. We had great teams and great coaches. Mike Zook, for example, just love that man. We had such a great time. But so I wasn't drafted to the OHL, and I just think it's important to say, because the information that I had at my fingertips is not what's available today. My dad worked in the plant. He didn't know much about college either. My grandfather, he was the second longest tenured season ticket holder for the Greyhounds. To say I watch a lot of junior hockey games is an understatement. I think I lived at the old Gardens every chance I could. We billeted Greyhounds too. And the only reason I'm sharing a little bit of history about it for me is because I wanted to play in the O. I wanted to be a Greyhound, of course. And it was, these guys were men. It was the best hockey in town, it was the best hockey in the country for, that age group. And when I didn't get the chance as a, young 17-year-old, I got August birthday. And I was just starting to hit my stride playing in the Great North Midget League under Abby Caricato. That it was, probably to your earlier point about not being fair. I totally agree with you. At 16 years old, to make that decision is tough. I understand why the NCAA does it. I think there's some arrangement that can be had in order to, not just pick one over the other. But for me, it was a blessing in disguise not get drafted to the OHL. Just a year later, after going to the Air Canada Cup with the guys, everything started to come together, and I ended up going to junior camp, Guelph Storm. On my way to Cambridge. I knew I was going to play there. I was offered a full ride right out of the Air Canada Cup, and I just, I didn't have an advisor. I didn't have an uncle. Like I said, my dad, didn't, he wasn't advising me either. And so when it came time to turn down Guelph and by 48 hours, I was making that decision as an 18-year-old, and so it's a lot easier to do that with your. Even then, man, being a naive little kid, not know much about the United States schooling, scholarships, what have you. I just knew it was something that I wanted, and more importantly, it was something that I needed. And I think both leagues are, got their merits. Obviously, majority of the NHL players come out of the CHL, but the college, when I think about it, and so the decision was easy for me at that point. Is really the ultimate answer to your question, but. Because I was around both, I had an opportunity to talk to a lot of parents. Even when I was at school, I'd get called down to coach's office to talk about the pros and cons. And all I ask parents is, what do you want for your kid? Like really, and, being a parent now, it's like, I think I know the answer, but sometimes you'd be surprised. Some of the parents say, "Oh, I want the fastest way in the NHL," which, kind of blows my mind a little bit. But, most of the answers like, I want the best for my kid. And when you think of the unparalleled access to both the academics and high level of hockey, tutelage, for the most part, schools are got great weight rooms, academic support, counselors, and saying that. And even then, most guys graduate college when they're 22 years old, and you can still play in the NHL or pro hockey. Getting your entry level contract out of the way. I mean, that's for a few people, but for the majority of the crew, including myself, certainly when I was that age, the NHL wasn't on the horizon. I got to play in the O, you got to get a contract and, kind of hope for the best. But college is just more of a breeding ground. It sets you up for life, just in terms of your education, the people you meet, the environment, and what surrounds you. So from that regard, it's a no-brainer to me, but I understand both sides of the ledger, and they're both great hockey leagues.
So when you were 17 and not drafted, now there's so many kids that go through that heartbreak, right? And they think, oh no, my career's over, right? What am I going to do with hockey? There are some kids that actually believe that. When you were 17, not drafted, kind of, you talked a little bit about it, but you talked a little bit about the disappointment. What was kind of the game plan? And then did it take you a little while to kind of get over the hurt of not being taken into the OHL? And kind of how did you deal with that?
I don't know if I was ever hurt, just because the expectations were low.
Yeah.
I still think, a year later, drafted in the NHL, out of junior B in Cambridge, Ontario, sleeping when I got drafted on some crazy Sunday morning in June. So I don't think it never really bothered me. And if it did, and I wanted to play in the O, it was just more motivation than anything. I think most people tick like that, but at least for me, I use it for motivation. And it's like, I always have a little bit of, I'll show you kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's kind of it. I think drafts are overrated. I mean, honestly, there's really no debate, right? Does it feel good when you do get drafted? Yeah, sure, of course. But even the NHL draft, when I got drafted, I was like, really, what does that mean? It's like, now looking back, it's like, sweet, one team owes you, right? You don't want to be owned. Yeah. You want to be free agent. Everybody wants to be free agent. So really, their job is to find you. Being drafted, it's a nice feather in the cap, but for all the kids out there that are drafted or really aren't drafted, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing to do with the work that you put in or the work you got to do.
A little bit about Michigan. So obviously, Michigan, a Big Ten school, one of the most popular schools in the U.S. by far. How did that process work out? I'm assuming that if Michigan wanted you, you were, other schools probably were after you as well. Can you talk a little bit about the recruiting process back then?
Yeah. You guys will appreciate this on just being a Sioux kid, growing up loving hockey and playing it. That I remember they showed up at my principal's office in Cambridge at I think it was Galt High School. And maybe it was Cambridge. I got to ask Brog now. But anyway, we, went down there. Man, this guy had, 1993 program, 93, 94. And, there's All-Americans on there. Steve Shields was the goalie, NCAA record holder and wins at the time. And I was like just in awe. Fab Five was, 4 of them were still in college. The wing helmets of the football team was on everybody's TV set every Saturday afternoon. And so it really resonated with me when he showed up there. And so what I was referring to, just being a Sioux kid, is that they kept calling me and asked me to come down and watch a football game, right? That's the big hook. It's the big house, 100,000+ people. Well, at the time I was like, come on, man, I'm playing junior B. We play every Saturday night. Why do you keep asking me to come and miss a game? I'm not missing a hockey game. I signed up to give it all for the Cambridge Winterhawks. Like, I thought this was, it was almost like a not like asterisk against these guys. I'm like, why do they keep wanting me to miss games? Well, so I never got an official recruiting trip to Michigan, and never got to go to the big house until and watch a football game until I was a student there. But anyway, the recruiting process was crazy, and Finally went down there and watched a game at Yost Ice Arena, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's 4.5, 5 hours tops from the Sioux. I'd recommend people going to watch a game there if they're ever in the area or even plan the weekend. It's a 1920 building, gorgeous, renovated, and just, I mean, the sidelines are unbelievable. It's only 6,800 people too. Yeah. And so that year when I went visited with my dad and watched a game there, I looked at him. I remember vividly. I was like, I want to go here. You know, like I don't want to be the opposing goalie getting screamed at. I want to be the home goalie at this end, you know, watching 7 goals pouring there and the student sections booing them and the band's playing. And so I did visit a few other schools, nothing too crazy in terms of prominence or notoriety, but you know, we got deep enough in the process where some of the schools are like, hey, listen, I know you keep bringing up Michigan, but they haven't given you an answer. Either you're coming to our school or you got to tell us no, because we got to go find a goalie if you're going to say no. And for whatever reason, I had the gumption and said no. Michigan hasn't told me either way, and it could have really backfired, but just in my heart, it was something that I wanted. You know, I wanted to go there badly, and I was willing to wait it out and right to the end. And I don't know if that helped with their decision making, but you know, Red came to a game in Listowel, Ontario. I really cannot tell you where it is on a map. I just know it's in our league. And Red watched a game on a Saturday night in the 3rd round of the playoffs, I believe. And I made 50 saves, and he was in there probably drinking a beer up in the blue line room. And 2 days later, he called me, and he's like, you know, I've been looking for a winner. Haven't gotten over the hump. I need you to come here, and I'll play you. And I was like, and then Notre Dame actually called me about an hour later, and I hadn't talked to them at that point. So it took me half a day to figure it out, but I kind of boiled down to I would have regretted not going to Michigan. I'm sure it would have been fine going to Notre Dame and a kind of an upstart program. But, you know, playing a 4 Final Four, starting as many games as I did, and learning the life lessons that happened to me was well worth holding out.
Yeah, absolutely. I have family that live in Ypsilanti, Michigan. So they're season ticket holders at the Big House. So we go down there quite a bit, and just a beautiful campus. I've seen a couple games at U of M Stadium, hockey games, and it's just there's nothing like it.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, you know, just before we talk about your professional career and pass this over to Jim, you know, obviously you have a whole bunch of memories at Michigan, and you know, it's probably, you know, I'm assuming I can guess what your best memory is, but you know, just talk about your time at Michigan, kind of your career, how it started. You know, were you the starting goalie from day one? You know, a little bit if any adversity that you may have faced, things like that.
Wow. I was 154 pounds when I walked on campus, and I just turned 19 years old. I was still 5'10", so I gained 30-some pounds while I was there, grew a couple more inches, which is pretty crazy and late, but, you know, not totally uncommon. And, you know, that being said, my freshman year was like a whirlwind. It was the last year of my playing days where I could see, like, laser focus, see the puck. I came back in my sophomore year, and I struggled seeing the puck, ended up getting tested and needed contacts and more than the rest of my career. I just wasn't big enough and strong enough to stand in there for an hour of practice or two back-to-back games. So that freshman year was a big learning experience. Like I said, Steve Shield had just graduated, and he was the main guy. And the second guy he was a senior as well. So my partner that year, Al Loges, was great to me. He was kind of open to play, but Red recruited me to play. And so they did start Al the first game, and I think we both lost, or I lost pretty early. Anyway, time the season started rolling around, we started playing CCHA games. I think I played 13 in a row, and I remember sucking my thumb on the way back from, you know, Ohio State or Western Michigan on a couple-hour bus ride, just because I just couldn't handle it. You know, I hadn't worked out really to that point, and our guys were all jacked up and in great shape. And so it was, I had a lot to learn, but I was baptism by fire. He threw me in there. We won a lot of games. We made it to the NCAA, you know, Final Four that year, and we ended up losing triple overtime. And, you know, what probably resonated with me, one of the biggest things I learned from that year that still with me to this day, and certainly for the next 3 years, is watching the seniors take off their jersey for the last time. Everyone says, hey, 4 years goes fast. And, when you lose a heartbreaking game like that, and then watch these guys take their jersey off for the last time and all that they've poured into it from, the NCAA hockey season's long. It almost encompasses the whole 2 semesters, and you don't get much time off, but you're with the guys a lot, and it's a lot of hard work. But saying that, so that meant a lot to me. In the next year, sophomore year, I had struggled at the beginning of the year. I didn't stay spring term like Red wanted me to, and he was just waiting for me to have a dip. And most coaches or people who want to teach somebody a lesson, can't wait to get at it. But he let this one foster for about half a year, and when my struggles were real, and we had a pretty good talking to right after we came back from Sault Ste Marie and playing the Lakers, and I think we lost in overtime both nights or something, and I didn't play my best, and so that was a big learning moment for me. And we had really good teams. Went to the Final Four again, won our first national championship in Michigan in 34 years. The best team we had was the next year, junior year. We only had 3 losses going into the Final Four. We didn't even win the semifinal game in a really weird game on our end, and then we lost maybe the best class ever in college hockey history, and recruited 11 more guys, and we needed them to play, and we're in a rebuilding year, and just pulled it together at the right time of year, got into the tournament, and won a national championships as a senior. So that senior year was special. Broke the record for the NCAA in February. Charles Woodson wins the Heisman. Football ends up winning a national championship. My buddy Greasy that I hung out with every day. It was just all starting to come together, and all the athletes on campus were kicking butt, and getting to know almost all of them was a really, really amazing year. I mean, championships aside, it still would have been a great year. So time I turned pro, I felt like I was ready. I was in good shape, a little bit bigger and stronger. Then I turned pro, and I walk into the Stars organization. I look up and down the lineup, and I look at the goalies. I'm like, all right, another mountain to climb. And so it was a lot of fun.
So true. So obviously you've played in a lot of places. I've actually I've been to a game at Notre Dame. I've been to a game, obviously Lake State. I've been to a whole bunch. In your time playing NCAA, what was the hardest arena to play in?
That's a great question. Our rival Michigan State was I didn't find that one tough because they were so good, and that was our biggest rival. I think that's just a low-hanging fruit to say it, but that was fun. I love my nice arena. For the fans, I'll tell you a quick story. I don't know if I could say it on the air, but
Go for it.
Fair State in the middle of Michigan somewhere, Big Rapids. I played my first conference game there, and my parents were in the crowd, and they were the Bulldogs and the Dog Pound student sections behind me, and they're just chanting away, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Turco's mother is a, and I was like, man, my mom's here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Turco likes to, these guys are ruthless. I'm just like a 19-year-old kid trying to get my first win, my first game ever. So we ended up losing 5-4, and I saw my mom after the game, and I was like, I was worried about her. She's worried about me. And I'm like, how you doing? She's like, I'm like, oh, hey, you hear anything crazy? Oh, yeah, there's amazing atmosphere. Anyway, so we had a lot harder time in Western Michigan over in Kalamazoo than we needed to. Lake State, when they had good teams, it was fun just to go home and play. We had some awesome games, there as well. Bowling Green had, even though they were close to us, we had a big rival with them certainly early in my career. CCHA was tough, man, really tough. Northern Michigan, Michigan Tech, blast to go play, small little college towns. So it was really enjoyed our CCHA and going to those smaller ones, because when you play for the big school and you got the Amazing Blue and the Block M rolling into town, everybody's coming to the game. Everybody knows you're in town. Everybody's booing you just time you hit the outskirts of town, and you get the other team's best, which is really worthy for me as a goalie to walk into those hostile environments with a big target on your back by the time I turned pro, and kind of been down that road. So the atmosphere is just, it's unreal. And so a little sad that the Big Ten kind of formed and they got their own little league and they don't play any small college cities anymore. But every once in a while they do, and I recommend anybody just going to watch a game if you got nothing else to do on a Friday night.
That's what I was going to say. It's so sad that they did that. Michigan came up here last year, right before COVID, and it was nice to get to see them again. To play up here. All right, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, Marty, you mentioned your parents being at the game and stuff like that, and I know your dad pretty well, and I always remember when I was young, he always had all the Michigan paraphernalia on. He was known for that around town. I think he probably cost the school more in paraphernalia than your scholarship cost. We always used to laugh, and he's awesome. Just tell us about the support you got from your parents and your family, and then if you want to go on and talk about your kids as athletes and tell us how that goes on and stuff like that. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd love to. We, it's really fortunate to, have two loving parents growing up, and never once didn't think I didn't have it. Looking back now, I never had a new pair of skates, and goalie skates anyway, till I went to college. Always had hand-me-downs. But I didn't know any better, and I had skates, and I was playing hockey, playing AAA, which is super expensive. And so I was I was the youngest of three with my two older sisters, Stacy and Nikki. I just felt like I had four supporting people in my life, and, parents driving me everywhere and getting picked up, and, a chance to go on, great road trips with the guys. So, my dad in particular, would come home after shift work, and I'd be eating some oatmeal or something, some Eggos in the morning or cereal, and he'd be up all night, and he'd come home and shovel the rink off and flood it before he went to bed. So I had a rink in the backyard majority of my youth, which you didn't know at the time, but how fortunate and lucky I was, and he wanted to do it, and then my mom, she stopped working when we were born, and then, finally went back when I went back to school. And so just getting a chance to look back of all they did, sacrifice, for us, just to give us a chance to play sports and, have a roof over your head and clothes and be a tight-knit family was, super important, and always felt the love and support. It made me feel really good, and it still does to this day, a chance to go to a really cool school that wasn't too far away at Michigan. A privilege and honor to play in the NHL, and for them just to share it with, a family that gave me the opportunity. I'll tell you, it's probably no greater feeling that you can have as a son and as a brother. And, thank them to this day for all that they've done for me. And as you said, being a parent now and having kids in sports, and especially, my little guy, I think he snuck by here at one point, and going into the game room, he plays hockey. He's a defenseman, and it's interesting. I just want to be a dad. I want him. That's my son, and go there and let other guys do their coaching and help out where I can, and have some fun. And I always look for, watching our dads have a blast on those. I know times are different, but going to Sudbury and going to Toronto or Guelph and Ottawa, I'm like, man, I can't wait to be a dad and enjoy those trips. So we in Dallas here, we do those on airplanes and staying at hotels. So we do get to have some fun with the parents, but it's a fine line between pushing them, poking them, talking to them, and just letting them be kids. But I'm certainly not a vocal parent when it gets to the rink. Probably being a goalie helps, or playing pro hockey as long as I did. But they're just kids. As long as they're getting the skills in, as long as they're working hard and trying to get better, we're just there to support them. But I'm sure if my son was here, he'd be like, yeah, no, he's hard on me. I just want to know what he thinks after the game, what happened on these plays, and 10 minutes later, maybe 30 minutes later, I'll let it go. But I'm always an open mind and open book, and sometimes I want to talk hockey, sometimes I don't. So it's kind of up to them. But the girls are great. We had one in band, and she played tennis and played soccer. Another one, our high schooler now, our middle one, she runs track and cross country. So I'm always, whether it's nutrition, sleep, stretching, strengthening, I always got an opinion on something. But that's part of my job. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I got too much information up here. I'm just here to help. So when you don't ask, it kind of bothers me. But that's just the fun part of being a parent. I think I got good relationships with all of them, but they know where to come if they need any kind of advice.
And one more thing, Marty, then I'll let Bono go ahead. One thing you're known for as a goalie throughout your career, they're actually talking about it on Sportsnet the other night, is handling the puck. And they were talking the other night, the Oilers were playing, and Mike Smith, they were talking about him and how they said that you helped him with that aspect of the game and stuff like that. And he's kind of known for that now as probably one of the better puck handling goalies. How did you learn those skills? Where did that come from for you? And I mean, you have to be very ballsy to do some of the stuff that you guys do, right? I don't know another way to put it, but you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. You get, confidence reigns supreme, you know. It's just, it borderline, especially with Mike, man. Borderlines. I mean, I'm no different. Just cockiness and you know, it's a touch of arrogance, right? And those cockiness and confidence, you know, it's a fine line between the two. But Smitty was a real treat when he got here to Dallas because, you know, he's just an athlete, funny guy, big dude, long and lean. You know, hopefully our wrestling days are over. But last time we had a few drinks together, you know, we get back at it. I'm the old guy. I can't let the young guys win. You know, it's not my style. But, you know, I wish I could save my whole life, which I did playing forward, helped me out by playing the puck because with the equipment that I had, gloves, blockers, stick, and just my strength, I couldn't play the puck when I was even midget. I mean, I could pass it up the boards kind of, you know, to, you know, Joey Brogno or, you know, you Brennan Urema or, you know, my defenseman Glavoda and Rebic back here passing to these knuckleheads. Like, I mean, I could maybe change the sides here and there, but I wasn't firing off the glass. And you know, what ended up happening when I decided to flip my hand over and use a claw-like grip, my accuracy, my dispersion rate increased. You know, my sauce flattening out the puck became so much more evident. And then because of my skating ability that I did growing up, you know, when I left, you know, I went to St. Paul's all my life, but in kindergarten I was down St. Monica's and no, not St. Monica's. What's it called? Anyway, I'd go to the Pee Wee after, you know, the half day in kindergarten. I was just skate for hours and hours, and but always a little ball and a stick in my hand. And even when I was a teenager, I'd be in my basement flipping pucks, watching hockey or flipping balls. And the time I got strong enough and the equipment got good enough, and I flipped my hand over, then it became really accurate. And I had some great coaches. Hitchcock Belfort paved the way a little bit for me, where he liked to roam out there, and I think he probably told him not to, but Eddie would never listen to anybody anyway. So by the time I got there, and they're like, "Oh, you actually got, you know, a lot better skill, and you're moving it with efficiency, and you're sending bombs, but you're hitting guys flat in the tape and using my goalie butt to protect myself in a legal manner," which some people are bitching against. And then there's no trapezoid either. So anyway. It's you know, growing up in the Sioux, we played the game to win, right? And there was no difference when I got to the NHL. When I realized that playing the puck, protecting my defenseman, moving it with high efficiency, limiting the mistakes, they happened, of course, and that the puck ended up in their zone more often than it ended up in ours, and we were winning more. That it proved big value. So Dave Tippett was a big proponent of it. And if Zuby gave me the thumbs up to play the puck, what other thumbs do you need from Sergei Zubov? If he says, you know, go ahead and do it because I'm saving miles on his career too, and I'm making good passes. So it was a big part of my career, and changing the handover was the big thing. Now seeing every goalie pretty much in the world do it, do the first one is it's actually pretty fun for me to turn on the TV and see everybody doing it.
And what's the feeling like when you turn it over and the puck ends up in your own net? I know it doesn't happen often, but it happens a couple times, right?
Oh yeah, no, it happened. It's a terrible feeling, and sometimes you got to look in the mirror and say, you know, don't be gun shy. Next time that puck goes around the boards, you get your butt back out there, and you play the long game, and you don't let that eat at you. It's no different than letting one in with 2 seconds left or 4 minutes into the first period. You know, like, you know, you can tighten up really fast, and I had a lot of experience. You know, every game, every night, every year, every contract was always a little bit different, but that mentality wasn't just for letting one in. I'm in the corner and make a bad pass or hits a skate and someone catches it and throws it in the open net. But the good outweighed the bad. That's the way we looked at it. And so, like I said, the coaches were good to me to keep letting me go out there and not putting the handcuffs on me too much.
And
I
then
think it's good that you guys do that for young goalies to learn how to handle the puck too, and realize, what, sometimes you make a mistake and you just go with it, and that's just what happens. And just keep your confidence and keep trying things, right? I think it's good to see that. So
yeah, I think it's important.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important for coaches too, right? Don't just harp on these mistakes that kids are making. Like it's a teaching moment. You teach them, what you can do better, and ask the kid how they're feeling, and just be like, all right, well, don't do it twice, and surely don't do it 3 times. But I just try not to weigh down kids. And for me, like I said, I have to bring up my coaches because it was instrumental for my future success after making those mistakes. It could have been hurtful, especially if somebody's dwelling on it all the time.
Yeah. It's the same as football, right? A young quarterback comes off, he just threw an interception, and he's all mad at himself. And I'll say to him, look, they throw interceptions in the NFL. Just go out there and give it another chance, and away you go. And those are good lessons, I think.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And Marty, we're talking a lot about Dallas, but your last 2 seasons, one in Chicago, one in Boston, was that a little bit different?
Yeah, a lot different. Chicago was awesome. Like the city of Chicago, and we knew we'd be there for at least a year. We had a great house. We got a lot of visitors. We lived in Wrigleyville, and Wrigleyville's changed a little bit since then, but cool little part of town. And they just won the first of 3 Stanley Cups. City was on fire. Taze and Kane were young, and Seabrook and Duncan Keith, and Corey Crawford was his first year. So Chicago was awesome. Loved it. The Wirtz family, the way they treat the players, just an amazing organization. And then going to Boston was different because I was living in the Sioux. Kids were in school up there, and I was doing Sportsnet in Toronto, and then I went and played in Salzburg, Austria. So living in a hotel and not starting a year with Boston, not even playing with them in the playoffs was a little bit different, but nonetheless, playing for 2 original 6 teams on the way out of my career was a pretty special moment. I really enjoyed it. I've never been around as many professionals as I had in Boston. When you had Zdeno Chara and Patrice Bergeron, those 2 guys right there were just amazing men, amazing leaders. It was really fun to call them teammates. So the experience at the end of my career, kind of wish it would have lasted a little bit longer, but I retired when I was 36 years old. Got a couple more deals pending, but I was just looking forward to life ever after, and didn't want to drag my family around North America when I thought we knew, end up back in Dallas, and just want to start the next chapter. But to finish it off the way we did was pretty good. I don't know one athlete that doesn't yearn for anymore. Just look at Tom Brady. He's chomping at the bit. Not everybody goes out like that. But if he goes and wins another one and retires, different story. But it was pretty fun. Pretty fun of looking back at the memories, the friendships, and the lessons and experience you got to learn along the way.
And sorry, Tony, and you mentioned about the seniors at Michigan, about pulling the jersey off as a senior. What was it like to finally hang up the skates from the NHL?
It was. I didn't know it was going to be my last game, the last time I played. So it was a little, lacked a little fanfare. I've never once wrote in an email or Twitter saying, hey, I retire. You just kind of fade off into the sunset. So I'll tell you the story, though. When we, during that summer was a big one, summer of 2012. The CBA was up again. And it was a big argument about salary cap and escrow, and there was a bunch of long-term deals. And so I was talking to a few teams, Vancouver in particular. They had Schneider and Luongo, and they were trying to trade Luongo, but they couldn't because nobody knew what the landscape was going to look like on the back end of that. And so right before Labor Day, I remember called my agent, and I said, we're going to stop taking calls. And he paused and says, you want to sleep on it? And I said, no, I think I'm good. And He goes, well, there's a couple teams I've been talking to. I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. The next call was to a friend down here in Dallas. And I didn't tell my wife yet. I told Kelly. And so I booked her a flight down here 2 days from, it was a Tuesday. I booked her a flight on Thursday. Said, so we, in order to go to the schools where we live in, you got to live in the neighborhood, right? So I had to find a place to live. It was a fake address with a water bill, and she had the Texas license. I had Illinois at the time, and so shipped her down there, give her a list of things to do. And I remember she's like, oh, "Okay," it was kind of out of left field, and I remember she came back in the room and asked me, "He's like, are you sure you thought this through?" I'm like, I made all these plans to get you back to Dallas, and school starts on Tuesday next week. I think I'm pretty sure. And I'd always knew I'd look forward to life ever after NHL. What it looked like, I had no clue, just because my personality, my demeanor, when I'm doing something, I got to be all in, or else if I'm half-assing it, then that's going to erode the confidence. And so, I always wanted to start a business or do something that would have set myself up for post-career, like some players do. But I just know that I just needed every little ounce of focus and energy on my job in hand. Playing a goal in the NHL with, monster goalies coming in and, these skilled guys shooting pucks at you. If I wasn't all in, then I was out. And that's the way I'd always looked at it. So I look forward to retirement and just relaxing. The kids were getting a little bit older. My, son was 4 years old at the time. He doesn't remember me playing in the league at all, and he'll be 13 this summer. So yeah, it's harder than people could ever know, retiring. Some handle it better than others, but not one person that I can think of that I played with, talking to them, they said it was easy. And I wasn't immune to feeling sorry for myself or what to do, and get up in the morning and like, okay, now what? I'm 36 years old, and so turning 37. So anyway, it was interesting year, 6 months, 2 years, whatever it was, and finally get on with the next chapter of life, and it's been good since.
And how did Kelly adapt to it?
She's a Sioux girl. She's easy going, man. She was she might not like the pressure of being a goalie or a goalie's wife, but she's still a Sioux girl at heart, and she's we got such a great relationship. She's like, whatever you want to do, I'm down with it. And so I always joke, we can go back to the Sioux, we can go to St. Petersburg, or we can go anywhere together. We'll always make it work. And so she's been super supportive, as she was during the playing career, of moving on to the next thing. And so we've it's been hard too, and she probably doesn't get enough credit, making our home down here, first generation of putting down those roots. It's just it's not easy when we're both family people, and but at least it's nice. We get back to the Sioux in the summer, and usually during holidays and a few other times. But hopefully when things get back to normal, we'll get up there and see some family and friends, and enjoy the good Sioux life for a while.
That's awesome. All right, Marty, I know we got a Michigan game coming up, so we're going to play a little rapid fire question game here. And if you don't want to answer, just say pass and we can move on. But I got some written down here. But before, the first question I want to ask you is, there's a debate that we get into quite a bit up here. So from a goaltending perspective, right, it seems like there's two ways that people take penalty shots nowadays. Me growing up playing, I was always told to go in quick and make the moves, right? Well, Patrick Kane kind of changed that with people going in nice and slow. And I've heard a lot of goalies say they actually prefer when players go slow because they find it easier to kind of control the puck. So from a goaltender's perspective, did you find it easier, or did you prefer when people went in fast, or when people actually went in slow like Patrick Kane does? Or did you have a preference?
I think I preferred fast because just like you, everybody else went fast. And so my whole life, guys were flying, they come down, just bury it off your pads or off the end boards of the glass most of the time in practice, idiots. And that's just the way it was. So, when you're reading the book, right, of a player, and, our job is to get out high and match the speed. So, you're at the optimum of, just top of the crease or just inside it when it's time to make a save. And one way or the other, then you got the speed in order to get back to the post. And it really was that simple. So when guys started slowing down or changing angles and throwing us for curves as shootouts became more prominent, or just even a part of the regular season, it was like, all right, it's a little bit tricky. And Patrick he sucked to practice against, not because he went slow in shootouts, because he had this flat stick and he could pass it like crazy. His hands were so fast. I mean, I literally think he just came down there and just dumped it into the net. And I'm like, I don't think I flinched yet. It was crazy how good and fast his hands were. I don't think he even gets enough credit. I know he's put on some milestones recently, but he was a really good player. I mean, Taves is the best leader. I mean, for his age, I've ever seen. It was crazy. But yeah, so I mean, just because I used to the fast one, these, Sioux guys, everybody thinks it's a race. So I used to those guys in practice coming down.
All right. Most annoying guy you ever played against?
Oh, shit. I mean, I always got to say Sean Avery just because he's a tool.
Yeah.
He was annoying. I probably don't even give him credit, but on a respect level though, like Hornquist, the latest. Oh my God, Thomas Holmstrom in Detroit. They had my number, but I mean, like, I would have been good too with Nicky Lidstrom shooting from the point. I'll say number one was Ryan Smith. Man, he just slashed my knob, hit me in the face, tried to kick my feet out. I mean, the guy played to win, but there's a reason why I took a 4-game suspension on him when I was in the middle of my career.
Who's your best teammate or your favorite teammate?
Ooh, I got a lot, but probably my BFF would be Brendan Morrow. We were roommates early in my career. Still lives in the neighborhood, so I get to see him. So he's still. We played a lot of golf, had a lot of beers. Kids around the same age. He married Carbo's daughter. Anne-Marie and Kelly are pals. Like, he spent a lot of time with that guy.
Favorite arena to play at that wasn't a home game. Favorite visiting arena to play.
Well, all of them original 6, unbelievable. So probably ranking them. I mean, Montreal is unbelievable, and then Madison Square Garden, Chicago. The national anthem, but the 2 sneaky ones is Vancouver, loved it, and but Canadian cities kind of cheating too. But San Jose, surprisingly enough, great fans, really good fans, knowledgeable. They hated us. We were big rivals. The place would be rocking, and Neil Young was a season ticket holder, so being a Canadian music fan. Thinking he was up there booing my ass. I'm like, God, could it get any better than that?
And your least favorite, was there an arena when you're like, oh shit, we're playing these guys? Was there a place you didn't like to go?
Well, I had a hard time in Detroit, and Joe Louis was a shithole. So, I mean, I did like it. We played a lot in college, and I thought I'd have a great career against them. Just didn't turn out that way. So. When that place was getting torn down, I might have, went over there and left my mark on it. Just didn't wish it well. So I helped push it down. I mean, just some markets, like Florida, there's never any fans there. Sometimes in Carolina, before the surge and this team they have now, might be 9,000 people in there. So some of those smaller markets, this wasn't as fun, but it was still the NHL when I looked at the scoreboard at the end of the day.
What was your most embarrassing moment during a game?
Well, my first game ever, I literally got 2 penalties in the first period for shooting the puck over the glass. So that's a tough one. But coming back to Dallas, playing with the Blackhawks, I don't know if I got chased that game, but I went out to the boards, and I don't know why I one-timed this one. I mean, because I could, but I wasn't good enough. I would have stopped it and just blew it off the glass. But someone grabbed it, put it in the empty net in the third period. Maybe it was the first period. Who knows? But coming back home after an illustrious career here, and just to kind of leave a tail between your legs, a lot of friends and neighbors, old neighbors in that neighborhood, coming to watch the game. So that one stung a little bit. And then probably the ones that regret the most, though, are Colorado, back-to-back years with the lockout in between. We lost in first round in 5 games, and we had great teams too. Just can't believe it just went down like that. Just bad bounces, and I mean, Forsberg or Sakic and Hayduk and Drew, like, no surprise that we lost in 5, but I thought we had better teams than that.
Who's the hardest guy you ever faced in a shootout?
In shootout, I mean, Datsuk had my number, but he had that during the game too, not just shootouts. I don't even know if he scored on me in the shootout, but he was always a daunting one to do it. But it was honestly like our practice when we first went to shootouts. We had Zubov and Jussi Jokinen. I can't tell you how many times I just went to 2. I made 2 saves and the game was over. They'd score 2, boom, I make 2 saves. I'm in the shower 4 minutes later while Zuby was smoking. So practice was brutal. These guys were relentless, and but yeah, it wasn't too many guys I feared. Some guys had some moves, and you're like, all right, long reach or just a cannon, and so accurate. But we didn't watch too much tape back then. It was like mano a mano.
Yeah. All right, this is a tough one, so I'm not sure this is one you're going to want to answer, but that's fine. So say your son's drafted in the first round of the OHL draft, but he also has a full ride scholarship to Michigan sitting on the table. Which would you suggest he take?
I mean, did you not hear me earlier? Come on. Now. I care about this kid. I want him to have an amazing college career, and just a place where you don't have to worry about getting traded, and they got they don't care about the wins. I mean, they want to win, but they really care if you graduate.
Yeah.
And they tout. They're like, yeah, we have an 85%, 92% graduation rate. And you watch these young men and women, for student athletes come out of there. I just, I'm clearly biased, but I told you guys I wanted to be a growing up, and it's none are cons, they're both pros. Just I believe for the longevity of, it's the rest of your life. When you're 55 years old and you're like, glad I went to college, especially if it's free. All these families out there just like get free education, especially in the United States. Sometimes it's tough leaving, crossing the border and going to live a life that you just have no clue about. It certainly is a leap of faith. Not going to pretend it's not, but it's one I'm sure glad I made, and I would encourage him too. But it's his life, and I think as I'm just here to advocate, share my opinions, and then whatever their decision are is to support them, just like my parents did.
Couple more. If you weren't an NHL player, what would you have done?
Interesting. So, when you're in 8th grade, 7th grade, and you do the little aptitude test of what you want to be, chiropractor came up a lot. So I was in Kinese. I went to school, and I remember, never forget it. Like George Brown in downtown Toronto was a school that specialized in it, and so even as a grade 11, like university or college in Canada wasn't that far away because I just wasn't good enough. So things really did turn around for me real fast. So that was, still sports. It's sports science. I still deal with it today, and my kids, there's something's going on with them. I'm like, don't worry, I can fix you and take care of you. So probably that was it. But what I did know, through our Kingsville Brewery, we got a great relationship with Hiram Walker, JP Weiser down there in Windsor, and the guy that runs it now, Dr. Don Livermore. He's got a PhD in whiskey blending. And I remember he told me that the first time, and his first real batch was called Dissertation. It was a great blend of whiskey that he made. And I grabbed a bunch of bottles and got him to sign it. And I was like, my counselors at St. Mary's never said that, PhD in whiskey making was an option. I'm like, I don't know if I could call him back and say, well, you screwed me over. That wasn't an option. Are you kidding me? But it's, all for naught. And it's been a fun relationship, and just all kidding aside.
Yeah. And finally, you kind of already touched on what I was going to ask you, actually. Kingsville Brewery. Obviously, that's something that you've been doing later on in your career here. I actually got a question from Mike Pigeon, who's the Greyhound the Greyhound announcer at the game. So he's got it right there. Mike wants to know how come there's no more free delivery up here in the Sioux for Kingsville beer.
You cheap bastards up there. Nah, it was hard to do it, and we got great partners. We're at the LCBOs.
Yeah.
Pino's. You got the Romes and buy it. So we want people to go there and support local. And the city's been so great to me, and I know a lot of them personally running these places, and so it's like, hey, get down to the the Roadhouse or East Side Pizza, and and get yourself a Kingsville. But it's been really fun. It's been great to work with family. My co-founder Mark Muzzin, his dad Louie grew up in Buckley with my dad, and they're really tight. So to run a little family business, which is not so little, we're selling it down here in Texas as well. It's keeping me busy on the side for my Stars gig. But we drank enough beers, whether it was Superior growing up, Molson. Whitey would always have the garage full for the boys, and I'll tell you, it was hockey and beers just kind of was synonymous together. And being a Sioux guy, having some draft balls back in the midget days.
Oh yeah.
Do it. It's like never thought I'd be in the beer business, but we're trying to build a really cool lifestyle brand that, one of the things that really motivates me is to continue to make people from the Sioux, proud of what we're doing, and employ people and have a family Sioux style business venture, which I'll tell you, it means a lot to me, because you don't get to do those things just every day. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of education, a lot of learning, a lot of kicks in the teeth along the way in this business. But I think in the end, it'll be all worth it. So we've got some great partners, and once things kind of open back up, we'll get up there again, and we'll start doing some pushing. So we appreciate all the support that everybody's given us in the Sioux. And I'll tell you, it was my hat grew in the summertime, because I'd go home and just never felt any better coming home after being away playing professional hockey, to see the boys and see our friends and see parents that I grew up with, just to say hi, and they want to talk hockey, great, or just talk life and see how it was going. Was always a blast, man. It's always fun to come home. But right now, Texas is home base, and Kingsville is where my heart is at.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you too, but you've pretty much answered this throughout. I was going to ask you kind of, what does the Sioux still mean to you today? Obviously it's a big place and it's been a big part of your life, but you've talked about it so much on here. So obviously the Sioux still is close to your heart and close to your family's heart.
Yeah, all my family lives there. My mom's no longer with us, but my great memories with her are all mostly from the Sioux. My dad's there, and my sisters and Kelly's family's there, all but her sister is in Kingston, and it's just we love coming home. It's so pretty, even when it's covered with the white stuff. It's really lucky to grow up in such a caring environment. And the joking aside, you talk about playing to win. Honestly, I played more with the sky or the stars over my head than I did with a roof over it. I played a lot of hockey under the lights. But when you go play in the rinks in the backyard, or at Esposito Park, downtown, there's no referees. No one's calling you off. There's no plays. There's no timeouts. You're just playing. You get in a fight. You just pick up your gloves and start playing again. You grow up pretty fast. There's some tremendous athletes in the Sioux. There's some hard-headed people, but I think it just really resonated with me from a competition level. And getting a chance just to go home. I wouldn't have been able to leave home without the friends and family that I had. But going back, I always can come back to the Sioux, and wanting to make people proud. I'll tell you, it always stuck with me. And you guys know this when you travel. It don't matter where you go, you're gonna find somebody from the Sioux, because there's, for the most part, there's everybody that's from the Sioux or spent time there or grew up there. We're all proud of it, for tons of reasons. And I'm no different. I talk about the Sioux every chance I get. People now around my neighborhood know exactly where Sault Ste. Marie is, and they're like, "Oh, you must be, playing hockey forever." And I'm like, "I'm the second best goalie ever come out of. Maybe third, fourth best, but Tony Esposito, guy's a Hall of Famer. It's crazy, him and his bro, and playing against Ronnie Francis and looking up to him.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, no cooler feeling. So when I went to Chicago, I'll share with you. I worked 35 my whole life, whether it's directly or indirectly because of Tony. We all fought over that number as kids, and to go there into the United Center and look up in the rafters and see that number taken. And I couldn't wear it, so I wore number 30. But because the reason why I wore the number and the reason why I couldn't wear it, all because of one guy, I'll tell you, it was really proud. And I got a really cool letter sitting around here from Tony when I broke his record for the goals against in 2003. And it says he couldn't be prouder that a Sioux guy broke a Sioux guy's record. It's just little things, man. So there's a lot of history, a lot of great hockey players, a lot of great athletes. Period. Come out of the Sioux, and competition's never been at a higher level when I was growing up. Anyway, it was I don't know, you're playing ball hockey, broom bowling, like you name it, man. You go down to the shop, you're playing pool, like you might get your head taken off. It was a great, caring environment to grow up in.
Yeah.
Marty, last question. I heard a few stories, and I can't repeat some of them, but what were the bus rides like for the Legion with Abby Caricato?
Well, he got mad at us a few times. Fortunately,
Marquette?
I don't think I lost a game my second year that whole season. So bus rides were a little bit better, but he still got pretty mad when Alessandro DePasco would fart in the middle of the bus and the whole thing would stink it up, and he'd come back there and we're like, who did it? Like, just put this guy on the roof or something. So you get mad at your rem all the time for chirping them and just saying something stupid. But it was such a blast. I mean, 8 hours up to Kapuskasing. You guys, like, on that, we had an old no bathroom door on our Legion bus that we had. It was quite nasty. I was a little tiny guy. I could sleep up on the racks up above. I was so small I could fit up there. So we had a little ghetto blaster and playing some Ozzy Osbourne, some Cinderella, Guns N' Roses. I mean, to me, honestly, it was the time of our lives. We just care less, wanted to play hockey, supposed to be studying, played cards, made fun of each other. I just remember talking to Derek McFarland, our captain. He's a great police officer now. And he's just like, man, I just had a smile on my face for 8 hours straight, just listening to these idiots, ripping on each other, fighting, just it was a blast. So honestly, probably the most rewarding and the greatest year of my life was a chance to go represent Sault Ste. Marie, their Canada Cup. We should have won it. We had a great team. Jamie Cappy, my partner, he played one of the best games I've ever seen a goalie play. And one game he played against the eventual champions, eventual finalists, St. Foy. And from that team, man, like Noble went on to college. I think we ended up having 6 guys get D1 scholarships, probably another 5 played in the OHL. And a lot of us played together many, many, many years. So it was a great group of guys, and no surprise, just a bunch of Sioux dudes trying to get out there and win, and Abby just yelling at us every day. But I give him credit all the time, talking to people who have no clue what I'm talking about. Just he asked me one day as I was starting to get bigger and stronger. He's like, "What are you doing, dude?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Would you try?" I'm like, "I'm trying." He's like, "You're not trying. You're not trying. You're not applying yourself like you could." And I was just old enough and had enough wherewithal to take him up on it and become my own goalie coach essentially, and just really start to study what I was doing, watch a little more film of guys in the NHL, or there was no tapes out there. There was really no goalie coaches. For me, I mean, we had a couple here and there, and but anyway, it was Abby was so instrumental and so funny. He would be mad at us, but we'd be laughing our asses off because he was serious and he was making fun of people, which can't do it now. But it was the bus rides were great, the team was awesome, and the memories were the best.
One last thing for me, then,
Jim. I think you have one last.
Yeah, then I'll let you go. Marty, I don't think you realize how much you mean to the Sioux too, right? I can tell you a quick story. When I was growing up, my dad, I'd come home like 11:30 or so, and my dad would still be up watching hockey. And I'd say, "Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing up?" And he'd say, "Oh, the Stars are playing. I got to watch Marty." And he didn't really know you back then. I know you know him now. I mean, he knew your dad, and he always had to support the Sioux guys. And I'm sure there's a lot of houses around the Sioux that did the same. So, biggest takeaway for me is how much you appreciate the Sioux, and it's nice to see. And I just wanted to thank you for coming on.
Well, it's I appreciate you sharing that, because it's it's true. I mean, every corner of a grocery store I get to go to. You know, probably I wish if I could have changed anything in my career was to be in the Eastern Conference. So those games were a lot earlier, you know,
Yeah,
and not just for my parents or my sisters, but um, you know, just to be on prime time more often. I mean, I spent my whole career in Dallas essentially, and majority of it, I mean, actually all of my career, we were in the Pacific Division. So LA, Anaheim, San Jose, Phoenix, never mind Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, like those big games, you know, more than half of them were mountain time or Pacific time. So, but nonetheless, there's a lot of highlights on in Canada. That's what people don't get to appreciate down here, how much hockey's played on Sports Center and Sportsnet. And, you know, down here, we finally just inked a deal with ESPN to get back on the regular waves. NBC's done a good job, but the sport of hockey is doing really well down here in Texas. It'll never be like the Sioux. But it's fun to help make a difference in a non-hockey, non-traditional hockey market like Dallas that we're in. They made a lot of headway from since I've first drafted here to where we are today. But you know, that passion just comes from the Sioux and trying to share it as much as I can with as many people down here in Texas.
All right, Marty. Well, I know the Michigan starts soon, so we should let you go. But honestly, we can't thank you enough for doing this. You know, we know you're a busy guy, and you know it just shows how much you still appreciate the Sioux. And you know, for you to come out and do this, you know, everyone always talks about what a great teammate you were, right? So we really do thank you for representing Sault Ste. Marie, you know, on the national scale in such a bright and positive light. And we really appreciate you doing this. So thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. You guys appreciate you having me too, and good luck to what you guys are doing. And hopefully in another year or two, and you keep going and you get some big success, have me back on. Don't forget about me.
We'd love to. Thanks so much, hey Marty. Go Blue.
All right, guys. All right, guys. Go Blue.
Yeah. Well, overall thoughts, guys?
Great ambassador for Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
What I was really good. That was really nice to see, right? And the biggest takeaway was nice to see how much he loves the Sioux and it's still such a big part of him. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, I love his candor. I love how honest he was, right? Very very open and very, very forthcoming with a lot of stuff. And one of those guys you feel like you can talk to all day. So amazing to have him on, and we're really honored to be able to do that. So I know, Jay, we have a couple other guests coming on. You want to talk about that, or Jim?
Yeah, like we said, we're gonna bring in Greg Crusoe right now. He's gonna talk a little bit about the Matt Wheaton Legacy Tournament. We had them on a little while ago, but now that registration and everything's out, we just wanted to bring Matt back on to talk a little bit about that. And how are you tonight, Greg?
Oh,
can't hear you,
Greg. Matt, can you hear us, bud?
Can you hear us, Aaron?
Aaron, sorry. Aaron, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay. Greg?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Greg, you might have to sign back out totally.
I love Greg. I love the haircut Caruso has, though. Looking sharp. Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Matt Wheaton tournament and where you guys are at?
Yeah, we're very excited to announce that we're putting out our registration today on our Instagram, and people will be able to access the registration on there, fill it out, send it to the email, and then pledges will come after that. So people will be able to go around, you know, ask for pledges. It's not really like, I mean, you could donate yourself. It's not really coming out of your pocket, but it's just donations to, you know, get it all started and whatnot.
So, Aaron, can you just talk about the cost for the tournament, for the how many, you know, the divisions, kind of like the rules, what you guys are doing for it, that type of stuff?
Yeah. So we're gonna have a competitive division and a recreational division, and so competitive is pretty self-explanatory, but it's going to be a lot of good guys playing. But men and women, everyone's, included, and but recreational, it's just like it's going to be a fun. I think it's just a fun tournament, and just but yeah,
And-
I mean,
And how much per team? What's the cost?
it's going to be it's going to be 400 a team from pledges. So yeah,
And how many games are you
and then
guaranteed?
we'll have like pledge forms going.
Okay.
I think Greg knows that one. I don't know.
Okay.
No, he's not on here, but I'm thinking it's two or three. I
Yeah.
think 3, but
Okay. Greg, can you hear us now?
I'll get him back.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We got you.
Perfect.
Aaron's been doing a great job of answering a bunch of questions. So I'll ask you one more, and then I'll pass it on to Jim and to Jay. So, Greg, how many games are the teams guaranteed each? Is it 3 games?
So right now it's basically all depending on teams we're getting. So right now we don't really know the interest that we have. So we've done a little bit of math about it. Like easily you'll get about 2 games each. You might even get more depending on how many teams we have that register. So it's just based on pretty much how many teams are going to register. But like we said before, it's going to be half field, half an hour a game. So we're going to have 4 teams running at once. So easily we'll get 2. I think we'll get about 3, maybe even 4 getting into playoff brackets. But yeah, for that, about 2 games.
And sorry, before I pass it back, I was going to ask Aaron this, but I think he signed off. Greg, for people who don't know Matt and don't know the story of Matt and why you guys are doing this tournament, can you just talk a little bit about that, please?
I had the privilege to battle side by side with him for 5 years at SaberCats and for 4 years at St. Mary's. It was a privilege, and I loved playing with him. Matt was a super competitive guy, and he loved football. Anything that had to do with football, he just wanted to be involved, and his dream was always to be a star tight end. So just kind of, in his memory, we wanted to kind of carry on his legacy. And just, do something that, would do some good for the community, bring the community together. And also, it would allow to raise some money and do some good for the community as well.
Go ahead, guys.
Now, Greg, have you been talking to the city at all? And we talked to the city a little bit about actual football. So I think there's a better chance, I think, now that'll happen than I thought before. How's your feeling on that?
Yeah, everything, like you said, everything right now is COVID pending. Now, the way it is right now, we think we should be able to go, especially with it being outside. Now, we might have to wear masks, which, it is what it is. We do what we got to do. We got to do our part. But, yeah, so we think it's going to happen, but it's got to keep on the same wave. At this point, COVID kind of dictates what we do. But as of now, we believe we'll be able to go August, I believe, 28th.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been dealing with the city a little bit, trying to plan a little bit of football for you guys over the summer, and it seems like in the last month or so, things kind of took a turn for the better. And if you ask me, I think you guys will be good to go, and that's great news. One question I had, and I don't know if you guys have an answer for this, is there, besides just getting the pledges, is there a way for businesses or somebody that wants to donate on their own?
I had a whole speech for this. I'm not sure what Aaron has said, but I'll go through it right now. So with registrations, you're going to get 2 games minimum plus a T-shirt. So we'll color coordinate each team with a T-shirt. And then so for that, what you were saying, we wanted to do, our goal is to get some door prizes and some 50-50 draws and some raffles. So we are still looking for sponsors. So if you are interested, go on our DM us on our Instagram at Matt Wheaton Legacy, or you can send us an email at mattwheatonlegacy@gmail.com. We already have a couple, and we appreciate everyone's support, and anything helps. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or if it's $100. Anything helps. And we do have sponsorship packages. So for people that are interested, we have the silver, which is $250 and under. You will be on the back of a jersey. For $250 to $500 of a donation or a prize, doesn't matter. you will get a sign. So we're going to have signs up of all our sponsors that fit within the gold bracket at the event. And then if you get anything over the $500, you will be on our jersey. We'll get a sign, and then you'll be on our social media platform as advertised.
That's awesome. So you guys got everything rolling very well. Tell us a little bit. Tell the people a little bit about how the games work, how many people are on the team, how the scoring works, how to get first downs. Could you give us a quick rundown on that?
So we're going to follow exactly the touch football rules from the touch football league. So it'll be one common ground that we get to do that. And so also though, I wanted to mention on our Instagram, we had a merchandise to say, we wanted to do merchandise, and we had a poll on Instagram, and we've decided we're actually going to do all of them. So we're going to have an online website put up, probably around 2 to 3 months out from the tournaments. And it's going to have all 4 of our merchandises of both sweater colors, the polo and the t-shirts. And it'll all be for sale with all proceeds of that will be going to charity as well.
Awesome.
So
Greg, are all the games self-refereed, or are you going to have referees? Or
yeah, it's going to be the way we found it most efficient. It's going to be self-refereed. So because we're going to have, the plan is to have the small field at John Rhodes for the recreation division, and then the big field for the competitive division. So to make it nice and easy, we're going to be nice and self-refereed.
And
that's perfect.
There'll be no tolerance for any trouble, right? If you want to be
sorry,
so be no tolerance for any acting out or any violence or fights, or to be kicked out right away, right?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, as competitive as this tournament is going to get, it's for a good cause. We're there to enjoy ourselves, and we just want to have a good time.
Absolutely.
Greg, where's the money going to go that you guys are raising for the tournament?
I'll let Aaron speak about that.
Okay.
So my family decided that we want to do one foundation. We'll change it up every year, and that's how we want to do it. But this year we picked the Twinkie Foundation. So I'll just give you a little backstory. The Twinkie Foundation just helps relieve some financial burden by Sault Ste Marie families who have to travel for medical purposes for children under the age of 18. And having a sick child is definitely emotionally and financially overwhelming. So the Twinkie Foundation just helps these families so much, and it's when we saw it, it really touched our family, right? And it's having to travel that far for sick kids and whatnot. It costs. So and all of our lottery activities, our 50-50 draws, door prizes, etc., will be going to the SMFA.
Nice. Okay. And so, Aaron, one thing I asked Greg this too, but obviously you being Matt's brother, just kind of talk a little bit about Matt and the reason behind this tournament for those people who aren't too familiar with the story.
Yeah. So Matt just he's always had a big impact on whoever he's played against with in football, and he loved football, and there's just there's nothing more that he loved than football, and he also loved 3-on-3 hockey. And we've always talked about having other than the 2 seasons of football for us, Sabercats in high school, we've always talked about having a 3-on-3 or something, or we'd go out and play at Cora because we live in the West End. We go out and play in Cora, just some schoolyard football. And but when Greg gave this idea of 7-on-7, this tournament, I haven't seen anything like it, and I just thought it had his name all over it, and we're just here to have a fun time. And
I think it's a great idea, and it's a great way to honor your brother. I coached him in the SMFL I coached him at with you guys at St. Mary's, and I said before, I'll say it again. He loved football, and I think the best way to honor him and to do some good things for the community is football. And I think the 7-on-7 is a great idea. So I commend you guys fully. And like I told you guys before, Greg, Aaron, and anytime you need any help or anything, we got a lot of volunteers ready. Just give me a shout, and we'll be there to help you. So you guys doing a great job. I don't want to step on your toes, but if you do need us, we got a lot of people that are willing to help. Just let us know. Okay, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, like Aaron, I've had the pleasure of coaching, Matt, yourself. I've had to coach Greg. I don't want to say it was a pleasure all the time, but yeah, you know what, your family and the Wheaton family is just synopsis with football here in the Sioux, right? Like, you guys do so much and put in so much time. So, I think this is the perfect thing for you guys to do. And I have no doubt in my mind that the city is going to back you guys up. And I don't have any doubt that, you guys could sell this tournament out. Is there a max amount of teams that you guys are taking?
Not like, we haven't set a cap right now because, it's our first year. We really want to get, like, it's going to depend on our scheduling. So It's our first year. So we don't really know. If we get too many teams, we will have to put teams on a waiting list. But that's as far as we have right now, just merely because it's our first year.
No, that's fair. Jay?
One thing, just to let you guys know, and we'll talk a little bit more off air, but just before the show started, on the right-hand column of SiouxSports.com, there is an ad or a logo that people can go to and click on, and it will take it to the registration page.
Perfect.
I just want to ask Greg a couple questions about where he's at with football right now. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, but Greg, you want to tell everybody where you're at with football? And I know you've been going out on Tuesday nights. If you want to talk a little bit about that and where next year you're hoping to be.
Yeah, right now I made the trip back down to Waterloo. We got spring training camp at the end of April, so I wanted to get down, knock some rust off, and get that in. And you know what? I love football. I don't want it to end, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, actually, I graduate next year, so it's going to be my last go. So I'm giving it everything I got, putting all the tools together, and hopefully the plans to start. The spot's open, so to me it's mine to get.
That's awesome. How have the Tuesday night sessions been? Have you been able to make it out? And I know, Aaron, you're out there now too. How are those for you guys?
Yeah, those are great. It's good to see. Being a part of
SaberCats,
you don't realize how much it actually does for you until you leave. And looking back, SaberCats has offered me so many memories with the boys, and just so much quality time, even just with the coaches, and playing the sport I love. I love giving back to the organization. So to see all those guys come out on Tuesday, it really shows how committed they are, and just the love for football that's starting to grow in Sault Ste. Marie.
And how are you liking it? I know you only made it once. How are you liking that? Nice to be out there, right?
Yeah, I just love putting the cleats back on. Like, it sucks that I haven't played in it feels like forever, but just putting it back on and like just seeing my football friends out there and trying out different positions, I guess. But
as I said,
I love it.
That was the nicest thing for me too. I haven't been going on Tuesday night because I'm old and it's really late, and I let the other guys handle it. But it's nice first time when I was there and helping with the registration, it was just nice to see all the guys and how happy they were all to get back on the field. And guys like Aaron, they're too skinny now, and he's not a lineman anymore, so he has to change positions. But
yeah,
it's nice to see. It's nice to see everybody out there, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. And so
I was doing cornerback drills.
There you go. You never know, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I know that we're putting a team in with. I'm going to be stuck playing with Mark Dewar by the sounds of it. So, whichever division we're in, I'll be the big wide receiver on the outside, burning past everybody at the on the outside. So
he's our speed. Though Dewar's our speed, so we got to keep him. He's the only guy that can run. Yeah.
So true. All right, so guys, one last pitch here. So if I want to sign up and I want my team registered, I know Greg, you mentioned it before, but maybe repeat one more time where people can go to sign up and register.
So on our Instagram account, Matt Wheaton Legacy, we have a Google Doc link. All you got to do is click the link and then download the document. And then we want you to email it back to our email at mattwheatonlegacy@gmail.com. All the information's on the form that you need. If you need to contact anybody, there are several numbers, and you can either DM us or email us. And we will, after we get off this, we will be posting a tutorial video just to give a quick glimpse how to download the form.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Jay or Jim?
No, that's it for me. Well, guys, I can't thank enough for taking the time again today, and we'll surely have you on between now and August to talk a little bit more about football and the Matt Legacy tournament.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.